Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. Beautiful early October here, and we just had a beautiful celebration for 3 years at Wild East, bringing people in who've helped make this farm possible and honoring their presence in the day-to-day as well as across our whole story of coming here and establishing the farm. So I wanted to talk today about how important the human element is and all the people in the community that make something like this possible. Please make sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll get right into it. Last batch of broilers in the brooder for the year. We're doing just a half batch this time, and on our last batches this fall coming in to winter for storage, cutting up and butchering more birds, selling them at market. But these guys are getting to pretty good size. We're gonna put them out towards the end of this week and clean the brooder out and call it a season in terms of brooder management. The nursery is coming along great. We're getting really high success rates on the rooting, and while a lot of these trees are showing new growth since putting them in, you can really just feel whether they're rooted in or not. So I'm going along and testing regularly just to see, but even little figs like this one barely sticking up with just a little bit of new growth, with just a really light tug, you can feel that there's significant root development. The blueberries are a little slower as expected, but still showing life. And very excited, gonna be planting these out and selling plants at a spring plant sale, the first of its kind for Wild East next spring. Beautiful no-till carrots, just starting to size up and pulling out of the ground very easily, very clean. Curious turkeys making their way over to me anytime I approach. We've had some owl pressure the last night or two as they've worked near the tree line being moved around the pasture. So moving them a little more rapidly. I know it's an owl because I've been hearing great horned owls at night, and there's no disturbance to the fence whatsoever, as a ground predator would impart. The grape arbors coming to life. We just planted these grapes out last spring and put up the arbors over the winter. We got some of our first pickings of grapes and are gonna do an aggressive prune this winter to start training them. But we've got muscadine and scuppernong. They're the thicker skinned seeded grapes that we love eating so much and are wonderful for making into drinks and wines. We're coming up on 3 years since moving here and getting the farm started. So much has happened in that time, and we felt it was appropriate to invite all the folks out who have really directly impacted our journey and made this whole vision come to life. Because while we're the ones here every day doing the work, Lyric and I and Zach and the team, it goes so far beyond that. in how supported we are by the community and those further afoot as well. We had a wonderful meal with 100% meat and veg from the farm, catered by one of our partners in Asheville, who prepared it wonderfully. And it was just a beautiful moment to sit back and reflect and really honor those people and let them know how grateful we are and how impactful they've been in our journey. Now, when I came into this world of homesteading and growing food and ultimately farming, there's really immediate exposure to the self-sustenance element of it, and folks sharing about, living fully independently. And while that sounds nice, especially if you're living in a city, feel hyper dependent on externalities, I think it really misses the bigger picture of the point of all of this. Yes, we do grow most of our own food. Our grocery bill is super low. We collect and split our own firewood. We entertain ourselves with beauty and joy here on the farm and don't feel dependent on externalities to meet most of our needs. We see being providers to ourselves as putting us in a position to enhance the community and be enhanced by the community in really meaningful ways. I want to rewind and just talk about how Wild East coming to fruition was the work and intention of many years of not just us, but of our friends and family and the local food community here in Asheville and Western North Carolina. And as we were reflecting on this party and how we wanted to honor folks, we felt like we've always been completely believed in and supported in our vision. Different folks from local food, nonprofit organizations to friends and colleagues coming out and lending a helping hand with tree planting and mulching various work days around the farm. There's those tangible elements, but again, as we were reflecting, just the belief that we felt really empowered us to step out and do something really grand and impactful for the community. And that's a big part of why we do this, is to be meaningful members of not just the landscape and not just our own lives, but of the greater community that we're a part of. I think similar to the narrative of self-sufficiency and living on an island, there's a lot of talk around moving out to the country to escape. I think more so than escaping, as it's normally painted, what we're doing is re-engaging with a way of life that attunes us to the seasons, puts our livelihood in direct relationship with the weather and the climate, the economics of our place. And I think it's the opposite of an escape. It's a pull closer to the realities that affect us all and cutting out all of the middle steps that make us feel detached from those things. We spent close to 10 years living in Western North Carolina, developing meaningful personal and professional relationships. And it's amazing how much those overlap in our context. But that incubation time where we were nesting our vision, nesting our skills, and working towards what ultimately became Wild East was absolutely critical and foundational in our development, our connection to place, and desire to become deeply rooted here. And in the fruition of this big project that's unfolded over the last several years, I really don't think we could have done anything like this had we not been so relational in our approach. And that's why at the forefront of all we do, we talk about relational agriculture. It's not just about growing food. It's not just about escaping city life or living with our own meaning and purpose. It's really about relationships. Relationships to one another, relationship to the land and the creatures, and relationship to those that we serve. Because I think farming truly is an act of service. At the party, I was actually talking to a fellow young entrepreneur who's just starting a venture of his own, and we were talking about the metaphor of planting a tree and how we plant a tree because we want ultimately the fruits of what it provides. But if we don't focus on digging a proper hole when it's time to be digging the hole, then the fruits don't come, or they're lessened. So I think about in that metaphor, we spent a long time digging the hole that has become the tree of Wild East. I think I've said it before, but all those years of not just jumping straight into farming, but getting really, really clear about our values, getting really integrated into this place, the ecology, the humans, and developing that understanding in those relationships has made it feel like the moment we arrived, we were ready to plant the tree, and we're already seeing the fruits in just 3 years. It's a beautiful thing. And again, I've touched on it, but I think it's so important for folks interested in farming or homesteading to not rush into it, to spend the time and understand the value of the patience. We all live, I shouldn't say we all, many of us live in a reality that's quite detached from land stewardship and growing food, and it's so easy to be convinced of the fantasy that lies out there on the internet of it all. And while it's truly like living in a fantasy some days, it doesn't all come at once, and mistakes are part of the process. And what really breeds resilience, more so than any kind of practice or regenerative mindset or personal mindset even, is other humans being a part of what you're doing. We've taken the support that we've gotten from our greater community and really tried to apply those principles to bringing people here on the farm. All of our employees have come to us through relational avenues, meeting them at conferences, having mutual connections, and building in that trust from the onset. And once they've come here, really prioritizing a relationship that expands beyond just employer-employee or professional workspace, but really developing a community here where people feel welcomed. They feel like the work itself is a beautiful part of their daily life. And I think we've been successful at creating a farm where people, including Lyric and I, genuinely love to be within and love to do the work. And that all comes from attention to relationship and having the humans feel valued for their own presence and the gifts that they bring, as well as creating a farm culture where work and play and joy and rest all seamlessly blend into one another. And it's something that we're very proud of and feel like makes the lifestyle and the balance of it all well attained. And that's unfortunately a rare thing in the small farm context. So thinking back to an earlier video I did about the 8 forms of capital, while they all present equal value, the different forms of capital, I strongly value personally the relational capital that we can build. And I'm always telling younger folks interested in getting into farming who may feel like capital, financial capital or resources or land may be limited. It can be really amazing when you take stock of the relationships you have and the value that those can bring spiritually, professionally, emotionally, to your life, and reframing what you have and what's available to you, not just through the lens of physical or material resources, but those relationships can make us feel extremely wealthy, and we are constantly in a place of gratitude for that. It's a beautiful thing, and I encourage everyone to take stock of that no matter what point in their journey they're on, because again, I can't stress enough, no part of this is possible without those who have lifted us up and been of support, both at the beginning stages in our emergence as young agrarians, as well as ongoing through the process as it's been so far. And it's a major point of excitement for me, not just watching the enterprises develop and the trees grow and the business mature, but just envisioning the endless possibility of relationships and beautiful moments and opportunities that a place like Wild East can foster. And yeah, it's a big reason why we do what we do, is those relationships, those connections. So a bit of a ramble similar to my last video, but I just wanted to take the time to express my gratitude for the people who have supported us in this form, and encourage anyone watching, really no matter what stage of the journey they're in, whether that's curiosity at having a couple layer hens in their backyard, wanting to start a farm, or well along the path of having done so, to just have that moment of gratitude and taking stock of who has helped make your journey possible, and letting them know that you feel that way, because that's what keeps it sustaining. And on that note, thanks to all of you who watch my videos. I said from the onset that I never wanted to play the YouTube game or chase the algorithm, but just wanted to have a platform to document the evolution of this landscape and of the farm over time, so that I can reference back to it in future years, and a place to share my thoughts, kind of to crystallize my own thinking. And that's part of why it's not always the most polished or cleanly articulated, but I think it's a useful platform for me, and if others are benefiting from it as well, then we all win. So thank you so much for those of you who watch the channel regularly, who subscribe, who leave comments. It means a lot, and it's very useful for my own thinking to learn where other people are and learn how my philosophy around farming resonates with people, or doesn't, because they're both very valuable things. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.